and Robbo.
It's the most talked about TV show that's not on TV.
And I think you guys are amazing.
With raw, honest opinions.
This was not a mistake. This was a lie.
Exclusive stories.
Some industry insiders have been talking about this.
Is that a Ben, Rob and Robbo exclusive?
And plenty of famous faces.
I'm not wasting these gold moments on 60 Minutes.
The Ben, Rob and Robbo Show is the new way to stream your news.
This is the stuff that headlines are made of.
Live every Monday to Thursday at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Ticker TV or Facebook and Twitter at BRR Show. Watch live or on demand.
Ben, Rob and Robbo.
Streaming across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight and David Robinson.
Ben, Rob and Robbo. News, entertainment. It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello and welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. It is great to have your company for another week, and I think it must have been a big weekend because our good friend David Robinson is not with us today. Instead, we are joined by the one and only Alana McLean. Hello, Alana. Welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Hello, Rob. Hi, Ben. Yes, I'm filling in for Robbo, slightly more pink than perhaps what he would wear.
Well, you may be a bit pink, but there's not really much of a difference. Robbo is actually very sick, Ben, isn't he? I spoke to him this morning and he could barely speak. He's not well at all. And you know how much he loves the limelight, so to be missing an episode must mean he's really sick.
Yeah, well, hopefully he's feeling better. We'll have to give him a call a little bit later and tell him that we miss him.
We do miss him. And, of course, I know he's not watching today because he refuses to watch anything he's not in. So if you were watching Robbo, I'd send you all my love.
Don't worry,
Rob, because you know what? We are ready to jumpstart your afternoon.
Yes, absolutely. Very nice. And coming up on today's episode, we're going to be meeting a fabulous young guitarist. This guy, if you remember Nathan Cavalieri, this guy is the new Nathan Cavalieri. He's really, really talented. We'll also be talking to Steve Mulk and find out why there's big changes happening at Sunrise. And we'll also the Emmys are literally still going, actually. I just looked down at my little monitor. They're still finishing up. We will have all the latest on what happened in this virtual Emmys. It was quite the show. But first, let's get into today's hot button issues. And the use of music during protests has come under the spotlight after John Farnham's manager blasted protesters for singing his iconic song, You're the Voice. As around 50 demonstrators stood outside the Coles supermarket at Chadstone's shopping centre, they started belting out the Aussie classic. Glenn Wheatley, Farnham's manager, has told 7 News he opposes the use of his song in a public protest during the lockdown, saying it's very offensive to John and I that they chose to use You're the Voice as a theme to this protest. Also speaking to The Age, Wheatley added, I'm personally concerned people will hear the song and think John Farnham is personally endorsing these protests, and in this case, it's not right. So Alana, once you put your music out into the world, do you really have ownership how people use it?
No, I don't think so. I thought the messaging from Glenn Wheatley was so off. It was really odd. I could understand them coming forward and saying, look, John was no way involved in this protest. There was no endorsement from our end in regards to the activity that, you know, it's clearly in support of. But to come out and say that he didn't think it should be, you know, used in that way, I don't think you can do that once your music's out in the world. It's art. It's out there.
Well, it's a really interesting thing because, Ben, we see with US political rallies, especially when Donald Trump has used music, there's been a lot of artists who've come out and said you are not to use this music. There are copyright issues and all that kind of stuff. But on this level, it's people singing in a street, which I don't think comes under copyright. They have a right, don't they?
You know what? I didn't actually think about this until Alana pointed it out. And, you know, I guess that's the thing is, like, once we release this music, people get to use it and interpret it in the ways that they want. I mean, I kind of felt when I saw it, I was a little bit disappointed that these people were using it. But looking at that video again this morning, I think more people turned up at my 10th birthday than what was seen at Chadstone. But interestingly enough, at my 10th birthday, we all also sung, that song by John Farnham because, at that time, John Farnham was, all the rage.
Yes.
So I had flashbacks to my 10th birthday.
Well, you've just given away a bit of your age there.
Good for you.
But Ben, I want to come back to you. You said, did you say that it upset you or concerned you that they were using the voice? Why using the song? Why is that?
I was annoyed because I love that song and I was like, I don't know. I felt like I could see why, and my partner and I were listening to it yesterday. I could see why that some of the lyrics in there supported a lot of where these people are coming from. But
Of course.
look, at the end of the day, people are allowed to do what I guess they want to do once the music is out there.
Well, Alana,
But if that was a song, I was just going to say, if that's a song that it was being used in something he supported, there's no way that we would even be having this conversation. So I think it's fair enough to say we personally don't support the protest, but it is an anthem that is supposed to inspire a nation, inspire people, which is what basically Glenn Wheatley's come out and said in his statement. Their interpretation of that, and in fairness, not that I support the protest at all, but at least that was like a coming together. It showed a little bit of unity and it was quite a peaceful way to demonstrate, I guess, their point. Not that I'm endorsing the protest at all, but I just think, there's plenty of songs that get used for other reasons, like I Still Call Australia Home from Qantas and whatever, that have positive connotations. So we're only having it because he doesn't personally agree with, the cause.
100%. But when you hear a group of protesters singing the song like that, do you automatically think, oh, well, John Farnham must agree with their cause?
No,
Not
I
once,
didn't think
not
that
ever.
at all. I mean, I
Exactly.
guess, no, I didn't. No, I didn't.
No, exactly. Settle down, Johnny. We love you. Be happy that your music inspires generations of all political persuasions. All right.
The only thing it made me do... Sorry, you're cutting on. Sorry, Rob. I was going to say...
Oh,
The only
clunky.
thing that it made...
Clunky is the way...
The only thing it made me think
Monday.
of was that John and Jill probably are hating COVID-19 because they can't get on the plane and fly over to Hong Kong to bet some money on the horses. So I was like, that was the only thing I thought of.
Oh, nothing like a punting reference on a Monday.
I'm just letting that
The
sit there,
Farnhams-
Ben.
No, the Farnhams love the horses. They love
Okay,
putting a few
allegedly.
bets on the horses, and I think that's great. I mean, Alana and I love to put some money on the horses, but always gambling
Responsibly,
Rob.
Benjamin.
Yes, absolutely. Look, let's move on because it's fair to say our little show has caused a bit of controversy this week. On Thursday, we will be airing an interview with celebrity chef Pete Evans. And when we announced the news, oh boy, we were met with a barrage of criticism. The news was even picked up by other news websites who were reporting on the fact we had an interview coming up. But most of the attacks, and I use the word attacks, basically said we should not be giving Evans a platform to air his views. Alana, I have to say, this really surprises me. Do we now live in a country where we can't air alternative views? A lot of Australians listen to and agree with Evans, and that's not going to stop if we simply ignore him. Shouldn't we learn what he's thinking and challenge where necessary?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that, Rob. I mean, that's the whole point of the media, I guess, is to shine a spotlight on those issues and dissect them. And, you guys doing the interview, by no means are you going to be giving him a free pass. And so I think, it almost allows you guys to find those potholes, I guess, in his theories and whatever that are the challenges, that are what we need to shine the other light on. Because I think with a lot of people they're using their social media and it's very one way in terms of the direction, in terms of putting these things out there. So, I mean, I understand. I mean, I don't agree with Pete Evans at all. And Benjamin and I have talked about this before plenty of times. Do not agree, think he's crazy. But as for not being able to interview him, I don't agree with that at all.
See, it's an interesting thing, but I do think it's all about perspective and ends of the scale. So with Evans, I think there's a lot of legitimacy in some of the things he's saying that people are connecting to. Now, where I
Like
think
what?
he runs... Well, I think that people are concerned about Wi-Fi in the house. I think that people are concerned about what they're eating. And I think he's tapping into something like that. And it's like when we interviewed an anti-masker. There are people who don't understand or don't want to wear masks. And except for the trolls that are, antagonizing police, you can't just ignore these people. You have to understand where they're coming from. And so I'm very interested in speaking to Pete Evans to find out where he's coming from. Because when you think about it, he's risked his entire career on this. Because the way the media has now painted him, how can he front another series of My Kitchen Rules? He's tarnished goods in the world of television, but he's obviously following something he truly believes in, and I want to know more about that. And so you can't just write him off as a nutter or a loony or anything like that, because he's connecting to people looking for something outside of what we're told is right and wrong. And we are now at a time where people don't believe in what governments are saying. And this has been one of the problems, I think, Alana, with COVID-19. The reason people are not listening to what Dan Andrews is saying sometimes is because they're so used to politicians lying to them. This is seen as a way of controlling the people. We've got to be open to the other side of the way people are thinking. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, look, and to your point, I think everyone's voice, it can be heard. I think that's absolutely fine. But I think some of the stuff that he puts out there is completely unfounded. I think in this unprecedented time that we are living in, it is dangerous to put some things out there that don't necessarily have medical endorsement.
Which we
so
will
I think
have
it
that
needs to be
conversation
treated
with him about.
Correct, and that's what I think the point is that exactly that, and to find out where those little gaps are and to challenge him on them and see what those answers are for sure.
But Ben, it is interesting, isn't it, that I feel like there is a segment, especially on Twitter, that want to shut down any opinions that don't agree with them.
Well, I guess we're at a particular time at the moment where we're noticing it in our own social media, like in our own use of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and that is that doing anything at the moment seems to be a area for debate. Yesterday I put up some photos of myself wearing a particular shield mask, which doesn't actually meet the right restrictions. And so, people were coming for me with their opinions on that. And it'd be hard pressed to ask either of you whether or not you aren't seeing a huge percentage of people growing every day that are coming out and supporting some of Pete Evans' points of view. And the interesting thing about that is, we need some clarity on that. And I think that even his followers want some clarity. And he's not coming on this show for us to attack him. He's coming on this show for us to offer him a platform to have a wider conversation that you probably wouldn't see on mainstream television. Because, in the medium of digital television, we're going to have an open conversation where we're not putting him down. We want to hear his rationale. And if there are certain rationales that don't meet the research that we've done on those things, then let's just have a healthy debate.
Yep.
It's not that we're ordaining him in some way. We're just wanting to highlight a particular thing that is happening in a mass audience at the moment. Like, as I said, as I started talking, I just saw a lot of this over the weekend. I saw a lot of people supporting his theories.
And look, what I would ask our viewers, because there are some of our viewers who are like, I won't be watching that day. I love the Ben Robin Robbo show. Have a look. See how we handle the interview. If you've got issues with the way we handle it, come for us after that. We're growing, we're learning, but we're not afraid to have these discussions.
Put forward your questions. This is the landscape we're living in with digital. We're interactive. We're here to listen. If there's something particularly that you would like an answer on, then that's your opportunity to put it forward. You guys can absolutely take that to Pete, and that's the difference.
And it's funny you say that, Alana, because I was about to invite people. You have access to our Facebook page, our Twitter hashtag BRR Show and the @BRR Show. Send your notes in, or, what questions would you like to ask Pete Evans? We've got an open forum. We're going to do like a 20-minute, 30-minute interview with him, depending on how long it goes. We will ask him the questions. This isn't just a quick tabloid hit where we're just trying to get a headline. I actually want answers from Pete. I also do believe that we should be open to hearing what he has to say, and we will challenge, though, when there are things to be challenged. So send your questions in, and judge us on the interview.
Rob,
Sorry, Ilana?
I was going to say that the more important question is, if he's on Tipsy Thursday, is he going to be drinking some green paleo or whatever while you're necking the wine?
Well, maybe that's
It's a big question. That's my question that I've put online.
Probably organic wine.
The big
I'd say.
issue.
Yeah.
Hey, I drink organic wine, so there's nothing wrong with that. Look, well, in the latest polls, it seems the Labor government is in trouble, with Anthony Albanese's net approval falling into negative territory for the first time this year. And it seems Prime Minister Scott Morrison is winning over the voters. Let's have a look at the results when asked if participants were satisfied or dissatisfied with the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition. In the past month, Scott Morrison has risen 2 points, and as of March to April period, where his rating shot above Anthony Albanese, he remains above with a large margin to the two-party preferred now, and we can see in the past month the coalition has edged above the Labor Party by 2 points, possibly reflecting another trend from July where there was a 6-point difference. Alana, what do you think is causing this loss for Labor? Is it because during times of trouble, like a pandemic, we put faith in the leaders leading the country and our states?
I think that has a lot to do with it. I really do. I think at the moment, we've all been through such a traumatic year. We obviously started with the bushfires. We've had COVID-19. We're in a recession. There are so many factors at play here. And I think what Australia is really looking for overall is that consistency, I guess. And Scott Morrison has done a really great job. And I think we've had so much, leadership spills and all this. We've had 6 prime ministers in 10 years. I think people are just looking for that consistency, and everyone's on information overload. People just want one way forward. And I think that's maybe where Scott Morrison is sort of getting the edge over Anthony Albanese, as opposed to getting down to the real nitty-gritty, I guess, of the platforms and all of that.
Ben, do you think the Prime Minister's done a good job during this pandemic?
Yeah, and I think things sometimes happen for a reason, and I certainly don't want to use the bushfires as the reason that helped him be a better leader, but he certainly did make a lot of misfooting, I'd say, at the start of his term. But then we love, as Australians, to go on a journey with someone that we support the way that we are supporting someone like Scott Morrison right now. And I have to say, I am more of a Labor voter, but I would say that Scott Morrison has managed to win me over. So look, I would say, coming from a family who are very strong Labor voters, it's interesting for me to even have that faith in ScoMo. I think a lot of us have seen him prove that he can run this country.
Yeah, it's interesting, Alana. I have not liked the way he's tried to force states like Queensland to open the borders, because as a Queenslander, I watch you guys in stage 4 lockdowns, and I think, thank God I'm not down there. To be honest, I feel terribly for you guys, but we're living relatively normal lives up here. And every time I hear someone like the PM or Gladys Berejiklian say Queensland must open its borders, I'm like, no, we don't have to. We're okay, thank you. So I haven't enjoyed that part of it, but I do think he's shown remarkable leadership on a number of other fronts.
Yeah, I think absolutely. And to your point, I mean, I'm a West Aussie girl, and Mark McGowan, no one has been more staunch on those borders than what he is, and without, likely to change anytime soon, but rightly so. And they're protecting the mining industry, and that economy has been pretty much up and running normally since April. They've had no community transmission during that time, which has been phenomenal. So I think, but I understand his point too, in that he needs to be looking at the bigger picture, and we've got a big dirty debt hole that we're going to need to fill, and it's up to him to really bring those issues to the fore. So I understand that, that point around the states and not wanting to be pressured, but I think it is his job to really, bring those issues out.
Alana, I just was going to ask you, what was it that you heard Western Australian people being referred to by that bloke that day when you were up in central Queensland? What did he call them? What did you call them?
Sand
I love
gropers.
this story.
Sand gropers.
Yeah, what is...
But I'd never heard that until I was in Townsville, And the guy was like, "Oh, you're a sand groper." I was like, "Sorry? Excuse me?"
I have heard that, and
it's a Queensland
we've got lots of WA viewers of this show who watch the show live. So let us know, have you heard the term sand groper? I have heard the term, I will be honest. I've never really understood what it means, but whatever.
No, I didn't get it. Maybe the beaches or something. Actually, if anyone does know that, hit us up on the socials.
Yeah,
we'd all like to
100%.
know so we can sleep well tonight.
I love Alana's call out for the socials. That's brilliant. Look, in a remarkable show of sportsmanship, Spanish triathlete Diego Monteguera sacrificed his spot on the podium for a fellow competitor. With 100 metres left of the race, British athlete James Teagle was ahead of Diego until he took a wrong turn. Seeing this, Diego slowed down, allowing Teagle to overtake him at the finish line. You've got to have a look at this.
Madre mía, qué carrera del inglés. Aparece en el freno. ¡No! Ha perdido este juego, querido. Ahí está Mentira. Que aparece, vamos a ver, porque se frena. Y pasa aquí. El tercero, efectivamente. Madre mía. ¡Qué carajo!
Wow. Ben, you're competitive. Would you have done that?
I don't know if I would have done that, actually. I think, it's one of those things that happens. I think it happens in the moment. I think we can watch that. I mean, I watch that and have an emotional reaction to that because that's that's sportsmanship, that's mateship, that's all the things that we love to celebrate. I guess in some ways it's interesting that you say that I'm competitive because when I was on Big Brother, they interviewed my mum, who I would say is a pretty good vox pop of who I am who I was as a child and who I am as an adult, and she didn't think I was that competitive at all. And I think I do like to allow other people to. I do think.
Sorry, my jaw just hit
other
the
people
floor.
to
I'm
shine.
just picking it up.
Well, I don't know, Rob, because
Ben,
like,
you
maybe
let me win Monopoly Deal. You let me win Monopoly
Yeah.
Deal when you were teaching me the game. That was only a couple of weeks ago. That was very nice of you.
100%. And, Alana and I have worked together before, and I would say that I do offer, there is a generosity in who I am as a person to let another person shine. Yeah. And I think that is a huge part of who I am. And I love collaboration, and I love watching that clip. I think we could watch it all day, but I mean, that man was quite attractive as well, wasn't he?
Well, that's the important thing. I must say, Ben, I am competitive. I believe in teamwork, and when
I know
I'm working
you are.
as a team, I'm competitive as a team. But I am competitive, and I will be honest, when I play games with my kids, I don't let them win because my feeling is that when they do beat me, they beat me fair and square, and they can enjoy that moment. And so there is a real thrill for them when they do actually beat me at games.
I disagree. I think, it's so funny. It's so funny that Alana was just saying that example of, I was teaching Alana Monopoly Deal, which is it's like an Uno game. It's the summarized version
Oh my God,
of the
it's
traditional.
so much harder than I thought it was going to be, to be honest. Like, I still don't really get it.
But while I had the opportunity to actually whip Alana's ass while playing this game, I chose to sort of hide these cards.
When you're teaching the game, but I mean when they know the game. When my kids play Monopoly or Uno or anything like that, I don't just let them win.
No, because I can tell you that I'm have a difference of an opinion here, and I can tell you that because of my parents remarrying, I had a stepfather and I had a father who had very different ways of interacting with their children, and my father wasn't that competitive with me, and he used to let me win as a kid, where my stepfather, he was so competitive, he'd be like, "Hey Ben, do you want to have a game of chess?" And I'd be like, "All right." And then he would absolutely dominate me and go, "Sucked in." And
No, not like that. No. Not like that.
How funny was that clip, though? When you watch that clip, all I could think about was Stephen Bradbury when all those ice skaters fell down and he came through and he was like, "Yeah!" And he was there was no giving that medal up for anybody.
Alana, should Stephen Bradbury have stopped? That's a very
well, maybe. Maybe do the little pivot around and wait for them all to get back up. But there was no stopping him. He couldn't have been more happy that he got across that line, much to the detriment of everyone else.
So true, so true. Well, this morning we saw what was a very different Emmys. Ben, it's time for a hit of entertainment. What can you tell us about the virtual Emmys?
Yeah, Thanks, Rob. Very easy slip of the tongue. I managed to call it the Enemies this morning by mistake as well. So,
oh, did you?
Hilarious. Yeah, I did. But anyway, from the very start of the Emmys this morning, we got to see a very different red carpet, with no one partaking in the much celebrated tradition of, talking shop and discussing their designers. We, love a good red carpet, but this really set the tone for a COVID-safe Emmys when you just saw just a very empty red carpet. Look, there was obviously noticeable absences from Channel E's red carpet pre-show. Juliana, who we know, and Vivica A. Fox, they are both unanimous with the Emmys. We've seen them present. We've seen them on the red carpet. Both of them weren't there this morning because they tested positive to the coronavirus. Very sad to see Juliana not there because, she is... I reckon she's probably done about 15 years of Emmys.
Yeah.
So it was sad not to see that. But look, despite all of this, a lot of fans were locked to the Emmys telecast to see what Jimmy Kimmel was going to turn in. And we've got a little bit of a glimpse at what went down with this fake audience as Jimmy Kimmel opened the Emmys. Check it out.
This is where the magic happens. This is the nerve center. As you can see, we've taken every safety precaution. And these are tonight's nominees. Hello, everybody. Congratulations. Wow. They're all standing by. We've installed cameras and microphones in their homes. We've been watching you for weeks now. Well, again, congratulations. How many of you have already started drinking? Show of hands. Okay, very good.
It's funny, Ben, isn't it, that it started off when he was fooling the audience, and making jokes, and they were all laughing until he revealed the fact they were all pre-recorded, and he, so they tried to. I was confused for a moment when they started.
Yeah.
And
well, can I tell that story? Because I think that was so funny. Because so you and I and the whole team of the Ben, Rob, and Robbo show, we're on a tool called the Slack. So we can communicate leading up to the show. And I was doing a bit of live Emmy texting to you guys, being like, "Hang on a sec. This isn't COVID safe. This looks like every other Emmys." And then it happened in real time while all of us were watching it that he turned around and proved that the audience was actually fake. And I just felt like the biggest dummy because, I'd read everything leading up to the Emmys. I'd been following the tweets of the people nominated, seeing them in their locked up areas. So I don't know how I managed to be such a silly Billy. And Alana, one of the busiest people I know, so she's already recorded 3 other shows this morning. So I don't know. Did you manage to see the Emmys? Did you see any of it this morning?
I've seen little bits and pieces, but I just had that image there of it like being told that Santa Claus isn't real or something for you. Going like, what? They're not real. Devastated. But what a technical masterpiece that they've managed to actually pull this together. 130 cameras and lights and everything going out via the post to all these celebs. My God, the things that people have managed to pull off during this new normal is phenomenal.
Well, Alana, I have to say, because you would have missed this, and you and I love Jennifer Aniston, but this is the highlight of the Emmys from what I saw. This is a little bit of Jennifer Aniston doing the first presentation, the first list of nominees. She was actually hilarious with Jimmy. Check this out.
Okay, now we just need to sanitize the envelope. We've got it here. I will spray it a lot.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a little extreme, Jimmy.
You never know where these accountants' hands have been.
Okay.
Now it goes into the basket, and we light it up. All right.
Yeah.
Wait 5 seconds.
5?
And then if you grab the fire extinguisher.
Yes, can I have this? Thank you. Okay. Oh, gosh.
Once all the germs have been burned off.
Okay, here we go.
Perfect.
Got it.
Perfect.
Got it. Okay.
And
wait. Got it.
All right. Sanitized for your protection.
Yeah.
Now this is exciting.
Shoot.
We are delivering Emmys live to some of the winning nominees in their home.
She was great, Ben, but that was hilarious that the fire just kept coming up. That was great.
It's so good, but Rob, you reminded me of this morning. You said, Jennifer Aniston's a comedian, but from the moment she stepped on that stage, she had about 6 gags that she needed to pull off. She pulled off all of them. And the interesting thing about continuing to watch the Emmys was there was a lack of authenticity, and there were a number of jokes that really failed. But to see Jennifer Aniston in that moment, just delivering joke after joke, I thought was brilliant. But it would be remiss of me to also not mention this, and that is Jen Aniston quickly getting off the stage to join Courtney Cox and Lisa Kudrow for this Friends reunion. Check this out.
Courtney's there?
Yeah, of course I'm here. We live together.
You do?
Have you not watched the show?
Yeah, we've been roommates since 1994, Jimmy.
But I
Hello.
thought that was, I had no idea.
Is this live TV?
Unbelievable.
Hey.
Lisa Kudrow, you live there too?
Yeah, where else would I live? I mean, this is so
I don't know, with your family maybe?
Yeah, like people live with their families. That's funny.
It was interesting, Ben. You mentioned that a few jokes fell flat, and I was doing some of the clipping up for you, and the opening monologue, there were some funny jokes, but where they were showing the empty audience, there was nothing funny in that bit. That's why I didn't include it, and so it was hit and miss. And as you said, Jennifer Aniston came out, and those 6 gags that she delivered were awesome. To me, even that Friends reunion fell a bit flat.
You're probably right. I think they were relying on the fact that the audience would marvel at seeing the 3 of them together like that. And a live award shows are very difficult to pull off comedy, because you can do a lot of preparation, but it does always come down to the mood. But I tell you what, the mood was absolutely... And, well, in some points we had the laugh track because they had this fake audience that would laugh along. So, we saw that at the start, which then wasn't there as the awards went on. But look, I have to say, before we move away from talking about these Emmys, it was, let's just marvel at Schitt's Creek. Now, I have to confess to the fact that I have never watched an episode of this series. And so I'm sure... A lot of people are going to come for me and say that I need to get on board, and I will. My partner and I are going to start watching Schitt's Creek tonight. But look, they managed to take out... Rob, is it the first 7 awards? I think it was the first...
Mate, it was something like... It was the first 7 awards. It was just Schitt's Creek, Schitt's Creek, Schitt's Creek, Schitt's Creek. They just kept winning award after award, and it was their final season this year. So there's a lot of love when a show like that comes to an end. It was a show that broke a lot of barriers. With it though, get past the first couple of episodes. It took me my wife Amanda loves it, and I never used to watch it with her. I have no interest in this, and just this year I decided to take a look and watch it with her, and about episode 3 in, I was addicted, and we just completely binged it.
Alana, have you seen it? I don't know if we've ever talked about it.
No. I reckon I've seen maybe the first 15 minutes, and it was just, I don't know even where I saw it, but I hadn't watched the full thing either. But, nothing like a show finishing to get back to the beginning and start what everyone else has already known about for 7 years.
I just had to...
I haven't watched Game of Thrones either. I haven't watched that either. Just...
Yeah, there's actually a long list, my friend, that you have not watched that I really should take you more to task over, because I don't know what you've been doing, rewatching episodes of Housewives, I'm not sure, but you've definitely missed out on a lot. Now, just before we move away from this, don't you think that all of those 7 awards going to Schitt's Creek allowed the Emmys to not have to set up as many cameras for other people to win? So I did notice there was a lot of people...
They've got to set it up for all
Benjamin
the nominees, and they've got to set it up for all the nominees.
That's a bombshell.
Yeah, I think I'm being really shady when I say that, but I did see a few people mentioning that on the Twitter, which is a breeding ground for horrible people. So, of course it came from Twitter that people would say this. But look, just before I move on as well, I just want to quickly say I am a big fan of the song Nothing Compares to You. And once we got to see the memorandum, that song being performed in such a stunning way, and I have to just quickly say, I grew up watching award shows. I reckon I was watching award shows in the womb. That's how long I've been watching them. And I can tell you for so long, I loved the memorandum, but I would never know the faces. And I would just be emotionally touched by the whole conceptual idea of remembering and honouring somebody. But this year, you know, with so many people like Kirk Douglas, Naya Riviera, Chadwick Boseman, like there was just so many faces of people who were at the top of their game, you know, collaborating with other people. It was a moment. It was a moment.
And I really love the way that they showed you what shows these people worked on. Usually it's just a name and a face and a super. But this year, you know, if they worked on Happy Days, you saw them over the Happy Days set. If they worked on another show, you saw them over that. And it was really, really clever. It's the best in memoriam I've ever seen.
Do you want to try and say that word just one more time?
They're asking me to sing next year, guys. I'm going to be performing at the Emmys next year.
Oh, great.
Excellent. Okay. All right, Ben, what is also still ahead in your entertainment report in about 20 minutes?
Yeah, well, we're going to get around to this. A lot happening with reality TV. Channel 7, so worried about today's strong ratings. They're making big changes to Sunrise. A long-time TV favourite has been taken to court, which we're going to get into. And also, there's going to be some changes to Married at First Sight. All this is coming up in the entertainment report shortly.
Thank you so much, Ben. Well, he's the 11-year-old guitar prodigy who has been making waves around the world. And today he releases his debut single, Just Can't Sleep. Taj Farron, welcome to the Ben Robin Robbo Show.
Hello.
Mate, it's good to see you. Now, you've been only playing guitar for the past few years. It usually takes people a lot longer than that to be at your level. What is it? Do you have some natural musical talent, or was it just relentless practice that got you to where you are today?
I would say that it's a lot of practice, but I would say that you do have to, well, as I said, practice a lot.
Yep.
Well, your debut single's out today. How does it feel to have something that you've written out in the world for everyone to enjoy?
It is pretty cool because I've just written my own song, but it's already been charted in the low hundreds in the
top charts.
In the charts. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome! Congratulations.
Thank you.
We've seen you on The Voice, Australia's Got Talent, and then you were picked up by The Ellen Show. I mean, did you expect those first appearances to really skyrocket the way it has? I mean, this has been unbelievable.
I could barely imagine getting onto AGT and that. And then I ended up getting on Ellen.
And what was she like, Taj? Was Ellen nice?
Yeah, she was. People say that she's always mean.
Yes.
But she puts that attitude on for the show. But I would say she's one of the most nicest people I've ever
well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Thank you, mate.
And Taj, you've performed with some of the most amazing artists. Like, I actually can't believe this, but you've performed with Carlos Santana, you've played with Kiss, Rob Thomas. Who's been the most exciting person that you've been able to collaborate with?
Well, people would normally say Carlos Santana, but there was something about when I did Rob Thomas, it kind of just, it made me feel the guitar a bit different, in a different way.
I was going to ask, because Rob Thomas was in the band Matchbox 20, I was wondering if you did like a cover of their song 3 a.m, but I reckon 3 a.m.'s a little bit past your bedtime.
Oh, yeah, probably. I've done 3 a.m. before.
Oh, really?
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. You know what? You're so young, but yet you're so talented. Where do you hope to go from here? I mean, you've already broken so many. I mean, you've already gone through the glass ceiling, essentially. So what's next?
So my main goal is to get my song to the top 10 in the charts.
Yes.
And then after that, hopefully tour it.
which would be fantastic. And on top of all that, you actually have a reality TV show in the works. What is this about? What is this? I'm really keen to know about this one.
So... Oh, sorry.
Too much coke. Too much alcohol. Is it, Taj?
No.
That's the cordial.
So tell me about the reality TV show.
So I don't know really what to say about it. We got a email saying, "Do you want to do a TV show?" And it's just like, well, hell yeah.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant. Look, before we let you go, we have to hear some of your guitar playing. Can you pick up the axe? Is that what it's called? I'm so hip, Taj.
Stop trying to act cool, Rob McKnight.
Most people call it the axe, but
there you go.
Yeah, I can play a little bit.
Okay, Rob's much cooler than I thought. Now, just before you play this song, what's the name of the song that you're about to play? Because I reckon that we might not necessarily know this one.
So I'm just gonna play a little bit of a noodle as some solo, but nothing. Just
all right, cool.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah.
Taj, you are absolutely brilliant, and I wish you nothing but success. You are just amazing. Thank you for being on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
It's the random live shot of the day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the random live shot of the day.
As it's Emmys Day, we thought there's no better place to go to than Los Angeles, California. The Emmys were held at the infamous Staples Center, home of some of the biggest events and artists, but we don't have a live camera there, so we're going back to Hollywood Boulevard, where the Oscars are traditionally take place. It's been a clear day with periodic cable. What's happening there, Amanda?
Oh, someone got a cold sore.
Yeah, I think we got an ad in the middle of our live stream. So, it's
not what you want on a Monday?
There's the Staples Center where we don't have a live camera for, so we'll take you over to Hollywood Boulevard where the Oscars traditionally take place. There's the live shot. It's been a clear day with periodic clouds in LA, hitting a high of 29 degrees after a low of 17. Let's hope we don't get any more ads as we take some feedback from our lovely viewers. And we've got Claire saying the Ben, Rob and Alana show today. A lot of messages like this one from Beck saying get better soon, Robbo. And we've got Cameron also wishing Robbo the best health. Gay says this is an insult to John Farnham, and that's the protesters using his song over the weekend. Darby says, I don't really see anything wrong with people singing someone's song. Jamie says, I would have thought John Farnham's Freedom would have been more appropriate. Regarding our Pete Evans interview on Thursday, Tim Goddell says, you go for it with BRR with Pete Evans. Glenn says, Pete Evans' views are dangerous as they fly in the face of medical fact. That's why I object. Jamie says, are you kidding? Once again, this is why we need Ben, Rob and Robbo as a platform for these issues and challenges. Nicole says, as long as you challenge what
That's
he
nice.
says, his views are dangerous. Carlotta says, go for it, but I have the right to say if I don't like something, and you know I always say how it is. I love the drama. I love you too, Carlotta.
So good.
Amanda says, looked up Sangropa and she found it is a wholly subterranean lava form insects of the family of killers. So basically, your subterranean lava form. And
Oh, that's
Leo
lovely.
says,
I didn't try to take off my large
with
words.
Ben and Alana. Dream team back together. All right, fabulous.
Oh,
All right.
bless.
Now it's time to talk
I
television.
paid them to say that.
I have no idea what you guys just said. It's time to talk TV with our good friend Steve Mulk from TV Black Vox. Hello, Mulky.
Oh, hello. It's great to be on the Ben, Rob and Sangroper show.
It's the new edition.
Now, Mulk, we know breakfast
I'm just
TV
being a lava in my corner.
Mulk, we know the breakfast TV ratings race is getting close, and Sunrise are basically showing their hand and showing that they're a little worried.
That's right. As a part of sort of COVID cost cutting for the Seven Network, they opted, Rob, to encourage Sam and Koshi, who was already on a 4-day-a-week contract, to reduce the number of days they're on air, take a bit of a pay cut, help get things through. But with a Today Show surging really on the East Coast particularly, and just the other week, it was within a sniff of the Sunrise national sort of ratings figures. It is all hands on deck at 7 Central. Sunrise is going to have Koshi and Sam at the desk 5 days a week, though I thought that Koshi was about to land into Queensland as a part of Port's AFL finals push.
We were certainly hearing that, weren't we? And what's important about this is both Koshi and Sam were only doing 4-day weeks. Koshi was having Fridays off, Sam was having Mondays off, Nat Barr was filling the role. And Mulk, it certainly sounds, if he's not going to the AFL, it shows just how worried they are about a resurgent Today Show.
And look, as we've talked about many times, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Nothing changes overnight. However, for this trend to even be acknowledged, and the fact that Today have picked up a couple of pretty serious East Coast wins up against Sunrise, it's healthy competition in the breakfast market. Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Go,
and
Alana.
And Mulk, South Park is disappearing from our screens. Sorry, Alana.
Wow. In a manner of speaking, it's going to be ending its what feels like 11,000-year reign on SBS. That was certainly where most of us were introduced to the Trey Parker, Matt Stone animated comedy series. But with the rise of 10 Shake starting this Sunday on all of our, well, at least capital city TV sets, you'll be able to catch South Park, the 4 foul-mouthed kids there, and that means that SBS no longer has it. It will still have a home on Foxtel, but 10 Shake will be its nighttime home for those that want to keep up to date. And there is a new season coming, but an hour-long special happening, a COVID special happening in a couple of months, I think.
Oh, wow. Well, I'll look forward to that, Mark, but I want to quickly ask you, I love the drama behind the scenes, and these days when it comes to Australian television, don't you think that the drama behind the scenes sometimes is getting better than the product they're trying to, put together? Because with this, a former Channel 7 presenter is now suing the network. What can you tell us?
Yeah, we talked a lot about Melissa Doyle finishing up, Ben, and the fact that that was all sort of very happy families. About the same time, Simon Reeve got his marching orders. Now, he's been with Seven for, I think it's 20-something years himself, of course, doing stints on Beyond 2000, and most recently the weekend sports presenter on Sunrise, who has been commuting down from his home on the Gold Coast. He felt that he wasn't being given the appropriate sort of exit package from his time with Seven. Which is his sort of right to be able to challenge that. There has been some criticism, though, from other people suggesting that maybe he's been on the network's largesse for a little bit too long, while others have had to struggle.
Mulk, that really grinds my gears because...
I wonder why that is, Rob.
Well, you know what? This hit job that happened in the weekend paper against him, where they were saying he's lost a lot of friends because he's daring to do this, because people are doing it tough at Seven Network. The fact is, if you make someone redundant, they're entitled to their redundancy package. And if he feels that he hasn't been given what he's due, despite what else is going on with the network and how they're choosing to pay people or not pay people, he has every right to fight for his rights.
Absolutely.
I just find that kind of talk ridiculous, that he's doing something wrong by trying to get the money he feels that he's owed. I just don't understand it in the slightest.
Well, we also have to put into context, Rob, that those comments around criticism around Simon sort of challenging Seven re his payout came from the ever-reliable friends close to the source.
Indeed. Well, Mark, we can see more of your work at tvblackbox.com.au
Yes.
or by listening to you in the weekly podcast, which will be out tomorrow. I look forward to another great grilling, and we'll obviously tonight, when we record the episode, have some chatter about what happened on the podcast last week that made headline news.
I'm sure we will. And just quickly to tack onto the back of Ben's Emmys talk, 3 big things happened in today's Emmy. First, Schitt's Creek won all 7 outstanding comedy nominations. That was the first time that's ever happened. Zendaya
Yeah.
at 24, the youngest ever to win a lead actress in a drama role. And the third one was with Billy Crudup winning for his role in Morning Wars, meant that Apple TV won its very first Emmy.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow.
Wow.
I love him.
Which means
He
somebody
did such a
watched
good
it.
job.
And if you want to be
What?
really awkward,
Everyone watched it.
2 Dr. Manhattans won Emmys. 2 of
Okay.
them.
Thank you, Mark. We always appreciate your input. We'll see you next week.
It meant nothing to you, did it?
No.
Sandro,
thing.
Sandro for signing off.
All that effort, nothing.
You know me better than that.
So
I
good.
love you, Mark.
He's on brand.
Bye-bye. All right. Now it's time to get back into the world of entertainment with our good friend Ben. Ben, we have covered this issue a lot on the TV Black Box podcast, the need for more support for our reality TV stars. What can we expect to see different on Channel 9's popular reality show, Married at First Sight, next year?
Well, you're right, Rob, because we have discussed this quite a bit, and Channel 9 has been warned of those serious gaps that are in operation of their show or have been in operation of their show, now highlighting a need for better support for their newlyweds. After several stars went public towards the end of the run for the 2020 series, we saw quite a few people coming out and saying the struggle is real. And I would say with a lot of people discussing mental health and, what's happening in the world right now, this is just a step in the right direction. I do also want to highlight something, Rob, and that is that I did a reality show on Channel 9 and they did an extremely good job of looking after some people. But I think there's always a need for improvement on what we're actually doing to support people. And also for anyone out there that's been on reality TV, I also want to say this, and that is, yes, you get offered a psychologist from the network. Take that opportunity on any show, on any network, but also pop down to the doctors and get your own mental health, sessions. There's 6 sessions you can get from the government and, compare notes. There's never too much therapy, as far as I can tell, and that's coming from a person who probably needs some. But look, I also just, Alana, what about you? What do you think of Married at First Sight? Do you think that that's a show that needs more support for their stars?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as we've just moved on with the landscape of these reality TV shows, the pressure is just so much more intense. When you refer back to Big Brother and stuff, like the social media, the trolling, everything wasn't as crazy as what it is now. The press commitments have increased. There's so many more platforms. So I think it's only right that the mental health, care has to be stepped up in line with what we're expecting from people in regards to these shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't forget...
now, Ben...
Yeah. I was just going to say,
ask Ben...
I actually would like to point this out.
Go.
Can you, if you do have any issues, feel free to reach out to Beyond Blue. A quick Google will get you their phone number or their website address. It's a great resource for everyone to go to. So if you do need some help, like Ben's been talking about, go to Beyond Blue, which is on 1300 224 4636. Well done, Amanda, getting that super up. Alana, over to you.
Oh, good one. Yeah, definitely. And Ben, what's going on here? Because the Chaser is at war with themselves. What's happening here?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, this is an interesting one. So Nick Murray, who is on the show, and also Julian Morrow, these two people are not unfamiliar with legal allegations going against the Chasers. But with this particular story, it would seem like they have taken a leaf out of those people's books and are now heading after each other with a defamation case. Rob, I want to quickly ask you about this because we discussed this last week when it first hit the media about this particular defamation case. Why is it so ironic that...
I think the irony here, Ben, is that we have the Chaser Group who go up against big companies, governments, or, like they've done their War on Waste series and they're always reporting on, the wrong things people are doing. Julian Morrow has been accused of... I want to get this right because there is defamation involved, but he's been accused of basically acting with malice against the company. So he was in partnership with a company. The company sold, gave some rights to him for like $50. Like because they assumed there would be another series of the Check-In.
Yeah.
Now, what happened is that it's alleged Julian Morrow has gone to the ABC with pitching a different series that was similar to the Checkout but different, meaning he would own the rights. This company is not allowing any replays, and because they still have replay rights and all this kind of stuff. It's very, very complicated. But what it shows is the nasty behind-the-scenes side of the industry, and this is all playing out in court now. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But that's why I thought it was important. And look, we will talk about this on the TV Black Box podcast tonight and really get across some of those finer details, because I think it's a fascinating case from an industry point of view, and it led to the Checkout not being renewed by the ABC because they just said, you guys are too much to deal with. We don't want a bar of it, as you can imagine. So there's now not a series of a show that did a lot of good. But Ben, while we're talking about things, you were mentioning Juliana from E! News, who couldn't take on... thank you very much. Who couldn't do the Emmys this year. She's actually released a statement on video that we've pulled in. I thought we should bring that to you as part of your entertainment report.
Oh, no, play it. I haven't seen this. So, yeah, I'm a viewer now, just like everyone else. I've joined Leo
Puglisi. Here at the Ben Robin Robbo Show is always moving, always happening. Amanda, roll it in.
Okay.
Hey, everyone. As I go into my 20th year on the red carpet, I have to say I do not take missing an award show lightly, but unfortunately this year is just so different. As part of E! and NBC Universal's very strict testing guidelines, especially before an event like this, I did find out that I tested positive for COVID-19. Now, as much as I didn't want to hear that, I'm very thankful I heard it before I traveled and possibly could have exposed other people. So for that, I'm thankful.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, that goes to show that, there's still, the US is really battling with this, and that people can still be asymptomatic. If that hadn't have happened, she hadn't have had that test, it doesn't sound like there was any indication for her that she was feeling unwell, that she was going to go get tested. It's scary stuff.
It's interesting, isn't it? But we saw a couple of occasions, Alana, where on the Emmys, people were socially distancing, and then Catherine O'Hara wins the award and she goes up and hugs Eugene Levy and things like that. Yeah. Let me ask you, when people work on a TV show, like breakfast shows, where they all have this appearance of social distancing, but is that actually, is there any point, or is that just for show these days, do you think?
Well, you'd hope that it's not for show. I think this is something that, every person in every business, whether you're in the media or you're running a small business, everyone needs to be taking, this really seriously. I must admit, I was a bit surprised with that vision earlier myself. I was sort of wondering, and for them to go to such stringent measures, but then to showcase that, I thought that was really strange. So, yeah, that one's got me a bit baffled, but I certainly don't think that the media should have an exemption just because they're the media.
You could see bits and pieces, though, when you were watching that coverage, and Alana, as I mentioned earlier, you were filming 3 other shows this morning, so you might not have seen the full coverage. So you're a very busy lady, and we're lucky to have you. But I would say that we did see moments of that group of people representing Schitt's Creek trying to do the self-distancing. And there was also a man in the background trying to make sure that they were doing it as well. But as you can imagine, we are human and there's human error. And when you've been nominated for an award like that, I can totally understand that these rules would sort of fly out of the window. You would forget, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but then we saw the Friends cast, Ben. We saw the Friends cast together with Jason Bateman, all in an enclosed space together.
Yeah, look, I think that, and the comments on social media were reflecting that, what do these stars need to do? Should they go into a quarantine after being together like this? What are your thoughts, Rob, really quickly? No? Alana?
Sorry, I was going to say, Ben, I'm so sorry. We've hit our out time. We talked too much about this, and I realised you still had one more story. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Alana, thank you for filling in for Robbo. We may have to call upon you tomorrow. He sounded pretty ill, but we will find out tomorrow.
I know.
Thank you so much. See
We're
you later.
with you. Thanks, guys. Bye.
It's the Ben, Rob, and Robbo, Ben, Rob, and Rob.